Hi, and welcome to another episode of She Leads Biotech, the podcast where we celebrate the achievements of women in the life sciences. My guest today has built an extraordinary career at the intersection of science, business, and leadership. But what stayed with me most from this conversation isn't just what she's built, it's why she's building it. Arriving with her mother into the US as a young child, unable to speak English, she knew her path would be in life sciences, driven by a desire to make a difference. But it hasn't been linear. It's been shaped by resilience, by boldly stepping into the unknown, and by constantly questioning, do I belong here? A question she openly admits never fully goes away. Over a 25-year career, she's moved from big pharma into building and scaling biotech ventures from the ground up, taking companies from early stage development through to commercialization, and learning firsthand that science alone doesn't build companies. Execution does. But behind all of that, there's something deeply personal. As we approach Mother's Day weekend, this conversation carries even more meaning. After losing her mother to ovarian cancer, she made a promise to help ensure no other families lost a mother to this dreadful disease. Today, she stepped into a new chapter with Aviva Ventures, focused not only on building companies, but helping other founders do the same, with more clarity, more honesty, and fewer of the mistakes she learned along the way. This is a conversation about leadership, resilience, and what it really takes to build in today's biotech landscape. But it's also about purpose, legacy, and keeping a promise. So please welcome the CEO of Caerra and founder and CEO of Aviva Ventures, Dr. Stella Vnook. Stella, hello.
Hi, Sharon. How are you?
I'm very well. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm excited to be here. I'm a big fan of your show.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. And where am I speaking to you from? Where are you based?
I'm based in Pennsylvania right now, but I tend to float between PA and Florida quite a bit.
So there's no question that you've had a very impressive career, that you're having a very impressive career, which I really look forward to exploring. But take me back to the beginning. Did you always know that life sciences was going to be your thing, or did you kind of find it along the way?
Well, I always knew it was life sciences. I mean, from the days that I remember myself, I was the geeky girl with chemistry and math. I always wanted to be in medicine. I wasn't quite sure what I would do in medicine, so I've tried many different things, but it was always going to be about wellness. There's, I guess, a passion about making a difference, and everybody have to make the difference in their own way. But for me, it was always going to be about wellness.
And were there moments, was there ever a moment where you thought, I don't know that I belong here? Or was it always that that's what it was going to be?
It's interesting because I feel like I'm still asking myself the same thing, because even though I'm in the field, but what I do changes so much. So when I was going up the ladder, let's say at Merck, I had to do a lot of different jobs in my 14 years. And some of the jobs were, very analytical in nature. Some of the jobs were marketing. And, I often question if this is the path for me. Am I going too far away from the patient? And then I always return that if I really want to do what I do well, then I have to learn everything about the industry.
Yep.
I question this all the time when, times were tough and I'm a founder and CEO of a biotech companies. I start questioning, am I really in the right place, right? Because at some point, the resilience is important, but those doubts do creep in. So I think it's important to allow yourself to question and reset the path every now and then.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to delve in on that a bit because I've heard you describe before, building something from nothing, even in unfamiliar environments. And how much did resilience come from necessity versus intention?
What a smart question. I haven't thought about it this way. I think resilience for me came out of necessity because when my mom and I came here to the United States, we didn't have a dollar in our pocket and I didn't speak English and I was very young. I'm not going to say how because everybody's going to quickly
Not that long ago. It wasn't that long ago.
But it was completely new world. We didn't have a place to live. My mom didn't have a job. I had to, obviously go to high school. And that survival mode, that building something for us, it was our lives out of nothing, became out of necessity. But then who do you become is intentional, right? It was my choice to be in this industry. It was my mom's choice in her age, realizing that she'll never have the doctorate, go back to school and become a dietitian. So I think resilience may start from different places, but once we have the intention, it allows us to stay the course.
Okay. Yeah. And you trained in oncology and global health economics, right?
That's right.
How did those early choices shape how you think about patients and impact today?
I think that it makes all the difference because in the beginning, it was all about creating new drugs. Because in oncology, when I was doing my internships, there were limited choices. And there continue to be limited choices in women's oncology conditions and many other rare diseases, to be honest with you. So it's a field that we're going to need to do a lot in. But then I believe I started to reform my opinion about once we have these drugs developed, we want to make sure that the patients that need it have access to it.
Yep.
So I've spent a long time on the side of pharma negotiating with payers for drug access. And then I realized when I had my own companies that we're creating drugs with price in mind. And there's so much going on right now in pricing and discussions that we can't avoid the fact that economics, public health play a critical role in this drug development circle of life. So does prevention, so is longevity. So I actually just opened up Aviva Ventures focusing on longevity work because I think that as we learn more about oncology and other conditions, I feel like I spend my entire life trying to fix when things are already gone too far, too late, and it's hard. And I'm very curious right now, I think that's why I'm an entrepreneur, about, well, how do we not get there? And there's a lot of new exciting research about that area as well.
Okay. So when you look back on your early career, because you've come a long, long way, what were some of the mistakes that you made back then that actually shaped you the most?
I think the first mistake is not believing in yourself. I think honestly, I started out with, there weren't that many girls in lab codes or math classes. It's just, I always questioned, is there going to be a place for me? Is this going to be a career? How am I going to? And I wasn't really well-spoken. Remember, I was in science. I was new to this country. I had pretty thick accent. And if you think of a person who doesn't feel like they belong, that would be me.
Wow.
So learning how to deal with this and overcome self-doubts became an important part of my journey.
And I imagine has just continued to build as you've gone through your career and the kind of leadership areas that you were taking.
With every new job, you question, do I belong there? And I don't know, maybe it's a woman thing, but I've always tried to overeducate myself, hence all the degrees, because I felt like I had to know more. And I think I was asked to know more. And I understand now it's not the truth, really. As long as you feel comfortable with yourself, it's okay to acknowledge that you're not the smartest person in the room, but that takes certain amount of confidence.
Right.
People don't understand that. And I think it just recently I started to realize that the better version of me is surrounded by people that are smarter in their own fields than me. And it's okay that I don't know as much as they do in those areas.
Was that your aha moment?
It really was, because up until then, I was chasing many degrees to be overeducated in order to know everything that everybody was talking about.
Right. And you've also spoken about how science alone doesn't build companies. Where did that really click for you?
Today's episode is brought to you by CNA USA Executive Search. We support life sciences, biotech, medtech, and advanced therapies companies with search solutions built on credibility, deep networks, and an authentic approach to partnership. If you're hiring, planning ahead, or simply want to learn more about what we do, visit cnasearchusa.com. Now, on to today's conversation.
When I started my first company, I thought that after being in large pharma for 20 years, being somewhat smart individual, it will come, right? I always said it's not rocket science, and actually it's harder probably. Because the first company that I started, I didn't realize that, is it an LLC or is it a C Corp? What in the world is the difference? What are these angels? I really didn't understand what people were talking about. Apparently they're investors. As I've learned later, they talk about, I mean, I came from a private equity world. I knew that well, but early stage VCs, family offices, that's just the beginning of not understanding the investment side and building the company from the perspective of your shareholders table or corporate documents, and needing all these people. When you're in large pharma, you have regulatory lawyers. Now I had to pay for all of them. I mean, it was just such a bundle of unknown, and ambiguity had to become my best friend. Honestly, I just did something last week. I don't know if you saw this and that's why you're asking, but I decided that we have to make life easier for each other. So I launched a starter kit for all of the people that want to go into startup. And I said to myself that we have to help each other. I understand we all compete on some level, but if we don't help each other to get started, then there's going to be a lot of great science that's never going to see the patients it intended. So I created it. It's a end-to-end, if you don't know what you're doing, it's a starter kit. So I just maybe that will give confidence to people who really feel that they have something, but they don't know where to begin.
Right. And how do people get this? How can somebody get it from you?
Well, I haven't launched it officially yet, but if they just reach out to me on LinkedIn, or I'm going to try probably to do it through Aviva Ventures. And I'm working with experts on my team who want to help. So I have an amazing operational person. I have an amazing commercial person. I have somebody who specializes in investment. It's not end all, but I think the starting is always the most unknown area that people fear the most. Once you start, and if somebody gives you like this, here's the box.
Yep.
And you know where to call after when you have questions, I think that that's half the battle. That's what I didn't have. I really didn't realize how much I didn't know. I really didn't realize who do I call. And I'm not sure if I had the right questions to ask. That's the key.
Yeah. And that kind of leads me on to my next question, because you've taken companies from pre-IND through to commercialization. You've done the whole gambit. What's the biggest misconception that you found that people have about what it actually takes to build a biotech company?
Biggest misconception is time. I think we all like to believe that things are going to work according to our table, but research always takes longer, and manufacturing is never quite as easy as we think. And vendors, whether you outsource the CROs or whatnot, have their own challenges. So if you ever build a house, I question, was it ever on time? And if you ever remodeled anything, was it ever cost you as much as you thought and completed when you thought? That's pretty much the misconception in biotech. There's just so many moving parts. We have to prepare ourselves that it's going to take longer and cost more.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's very true. And then it doesn't come as a big shock, right?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, so you can. Now you're involved in multiple ventures. I see, everything that you're involved in. How do you do it? How do you spin those plates and stay on top of everything? What's your plan?
I believe it's possible in early biotech to have multiple objectives. You study multiple indications. Just like for me, I juggle multiple companies, and I think it's about prioritization. And I started out with one company, and then I realized that, okay, now this preclinical work is in the hands of a CRO, and I have to wait for 6 to 8 months, right? So while you wait, I started helping somebody else who asked me to step in on the board. So, okay, so then there was two. Then another company started phase 1 clinical trials, and we had the strategy. The trials were managed by a clinical ops person. So I thought to myself, oh my God, this is so amazing. And then I got an offer, would you be interested in starting this company? So it was never the intent, but it was the possibility that excited me. And maybe I couldn't say no.
But do you find that you have to not kind of look back to actually, I've got all of these companies going on, but just keep driving forward? Because I just think for myself, if I'd suddenly start, I mean, I have one company and that's bad enough. I think if I then stopped and looked, oh, I'm also involved in that one, I'm involved in that one, I'd get so overwhelmed. How do you avoid that happening?
Well, I think that I thrive on being busy. As a matter of fact, when I exited, 1 or 2 companies happened to be at the same time, and my family was very exciting because they thought, oh my God, mom gets some downtime. In about 2 weeks, my kids were like, isn't there a company you can start? Because I think it's just I'm built this way, which is, ironically, because I talk about building. Am very structured and organized. So I like to think that I have a day dedicated to a company in my portfolio to check in. I have my own sort of method to every company I'm on the board of. I ask for weekly updates. So I stay on top of things, not monthly, because I feel that if it goes too late, and again, you have to know the questions to ask. And a lot of the people, if they don't know, they won't ask. Yep. So that allows us to stay on top of momentum in many companies, but also see if there's a red flag and say, wait a minute, let's go back and unpack. The goal is, and really what sets me back sometimes, if it's too late and then you have to stop everything and you missed that opportunity to fix it when it was still a little nudge, then it becomes, like in pharma, it becomes a snowball effect. Like, what if you miss that this is a wrong indication you've been studying? Right. Or what if you miss that IP was not filed on time? Like, these are big things that are expensive and sometimes not fixable. So I try to stay with every company on top. I usually allocate my Fridays is to read those weekly reports, and I check in with every company every week. So I don't bite off more than I can chew. Right. I try to keep my accelerator to 5 companies because I've been doing it for a long time. I think I have now more capacity because it's just, I know what to look for. But I started out with just one. And I think that would be impossible or unreasonable to expect that somebody can do multiple from the first start.
Oh, absolutely. I think that would then be totally overwhelming, wouldn't it? As absolutely. You say, you find yourself in a holding pattern while one part is happening with the company, and then another opportunity comes as a result of that. And so you don't really have the time to think about what that all is. It's just doing, right?
Exactly.
And I know that one of your companies, is it Caerra?
Caerra.
Is a very special and does involve, a very personal reason why you're involved in that. Is that something you're happy to talk about?
Always. lost my mom to ovarian cancer, and I think that changed a lot of things in me, including me stepping from the large pharma into smaller companies, because I believe that we need to do a better job in bridging the science to patients. Because when I looked at her treatment, was the treatment that back when I was an intern at Fox Chase Cancer Center, and I said, this is unacceptable. And there was a lot of research, like at a university level, but nothing even in clinical trials that my mom could be eligible for. So when the opportunity came about a year and a half ago, I was asked to evaluate this asset, and I was blown away because I never heard of this treatment. How come I missed it? I'd like to think that I stay on top of every research there is. And I think it's because we don't really, at least I haven't really thought of prolactin as an entity that is relevant in ovarian cancer. So this company is Caerra, and I have been first helping this company rebuild, and now stepped in as a chair of the company, because ovarian cancer remains one of the most lethal gynecologic malignancies. And
Yep.
partially because there's such a therapy resistance. And I think G129R, which is our asset, we call it KAD101, is a human prolactin receptor antagonist. So I won't get into too much details, but it's very novel in its mechanism of action. And I believe that, if we're talking about combination therapy, it will be a great addition to any existing therapy. We're working really hard right now to get to phase 1 by the beginning of 27.
Right. Because and we're actually airing this on Mother's Day weekend. So here we are on Mother's Day weekend. And I know when you and I spoke, which really stuck with me, was your comment was, I want to do this to help other women and keep a promise that I couldn't do for my mom.
Yes, when I heard about this, my first reaction was, I'm meant to save somebody else's mother. My mom fought bravely, and I don't often talk about it because she was the strongest, most kindest, most powerful woman to me. And she fought for 8 years. And I want her to be remembered as the best mother in the world. The one that dropped everything and went into unknown with nothing in the pocket, but to give me a better life and make sure that my children now have a better life.
Right.
So I want her to be remembered that way. But the opportunity to save more mothers is real. And this is why this is a very special company for me.
Excellent. And talking of special companies, you've got a new venture that you're involved in, Aviva. What is this all about?
Okay, so Aviva actually means spring in Hebrew.
Okay.
So it's a revival. And this venture is going to be focused on just 2 things. Longevity from the asset perspective. I really think that we could do more in predicting as a reversing aging. I believe it's possible.
I'm all for that. Sign me up. Where do I sign?
And I think that the second part of this venture studio would be to help people like all of us that have a passion but don't know where to start. And it's so scary to jump off that high bridge into unknown. And if you're an entrepreneur, I want to be able to help. So I've been helping people for 7 years, one person at a time. But then I asked myself, well, how do I help masses? So through Aviva and partnering with my wonderful team, we're going to offer like a starter kit to new founders who will get A to Z. Here's your startup in the box. And then if they would like, we'll stay on in a variety of positions. And if they don't, we don't have to be involved.
Okay.
I think that a lot of ideas die in 2 ways. A, they never get started. So I said to myself, we can fix it. And then 2, somehow they get drowned under a weight of other things. Like I talk about it a lot because we're all busy, but is it productive busy or we're just busy? And that's another big part of being a startup founder, CEO. You have to be able to differentiate when and how and on what to focus on today.
And is that the kind of common gaps that you see amongst all of them that you're working with?
I think it's easy to get sidetracked, and I think it's easy not to see. That's why I always encourage people to have outside advisors or board members or consultants or just people you trust, and not be afraid to sort of invite them in, sign an NDA, and just ask the hard questions. I think a lot of people try to put on a rosy picture, and that's all fine. But then how do you really know the truth?
Yeah.
And sometimes when people call me, it was too late. I want to have more honest conversations about, don't be afraid to invite people in and ask and be willing to hear feedback, because the goal is for whatever you're working on to reach its intended user.
Yep. So, I mean, I know you've been very honest yourself about mistakes that you've made along the way of things. How important is that transparency now that you're supporting other founders?
I think it has to be part of the story. I think a lot of times I never noticed my wins because it's a win and I move on. But I certainly noticed my mistakes because, I took a time to dwell on them and overanalyze them.
Yep.
So I think it's very important, and maybe they're not going to make sense to someone if it's not at the right time. Maybe the whole point of having mentors or coaches or boards is to allow them to be part of your journey and share their mistakes at the time that is relevant.
That it's the time that it's appropriate for that situation, right? Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough.
It's like I try to tell my daughter, when you're going to be, a doctor in a hospital and she's a first year student at a university, it doesn't resonate, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, Mom, talk to me in 10 years.
Yeah, come back to me on that one when we get to it. Oh, I totally understand. Not that she'll probably even listen then if she's anything like my daughter. So, but
agree.
That's what we've got. So, if you could go back and sit down with your younger self, what would you tell her about your journey?
I think the first thing I'm going to tell her is it's going to be all right. And the second thing I would say is be willing to be open. It took a lot for me to not put all the weight on my shoulders. Being open to help, being open to collaborate, being open to sharing. I wish I would have accepted that as a strength versus a weakness.
Right. And is there anything that you would do that you'd do differently apart from that? Or do you feel that kind of every step was necessary to get you to where you are now?
I absolutely love this question because I ask myself, I pledged when I was still talking through some of the things with my mom that I'm going to live a life without regrets. That means that I'm going to accept and acknowledge that some things didn't work out the way I wanted them or the way I intended them, but I'm going to make peace with them. And that brought me a lot of sanity. So I wouldn't change a thing. I think everything was a learning opportunity to got me to this moment today. I mean, sitting here and sharing my journey with you is a bit surreal because if you think about it, I've been watching your podcast and I admire you to even feel that I'm someone that you would want to speak with and people would want to hear is an honor. So I
was stalking you for months, Stella. You know that, right? Constantly stalking you. So it's an honor for me too to finally get you here on the show. Thinking about advice to future founders, those people who are looking at sort of coming through. The market at the moment is very different, probably to, well, certainly over the last few years, but different over time. Your capital's tighter, expectations are higher. What are you seeing that founders are still getting wrong?
I don't think it's getting wrong. I think that a lot of scientific founders specifically try to solve everything themselves. Because I think in science, we are usually an individual contributors. And I would say market is tight, investors are tight, and that's an opportunity to start with a narrow message. Do your due diligence, but don't delay it. The fact is, we really don't know what tomorrow will bring.
Yep.
So waiting for government,
waiting for perfection to happen.
Waiting for perfection, it doesn't work. If you are ready and you are open to allow other people to join you in your journey, then go ahead. There's never a better time than now.
Right. And for those that are just starting something new, what mindset do they need right now in this current climate?
So my mindset has always been, I can do it. I don't know how maybe, but I'm going to find out. So that's your mindset. If you're starting out with the mindset, this is going to be the greatest challenge of your life, I would say pause and shift the way you think about this. This has to be exciting. Every company I've ever done, every company I've ever started, I was truly, genuinely excited. I woke up in the morning at 6 o'clock and I'm not an early riser. And I was like, oh my God, let me see that research. Let me see what data I have. It has to be exciting. And I pledged when I started my own companies, I'm only going to work with people that bring me joy. So if it's something that excites you and you work with people that you genuinely care about and you enjoy sharing this journey with, then everything is going to be okay. And that has to be the mindset, because it's always been mine. I think even through the most challenging times, I believed to the core that this is where I'm meant to be, that I'm going to find the solution and the right person is going to come at the right minute. And it's not some positivity training. It's just what I believe.
But it's also the work that you put in to making it happen, right?
Yes.
Because that's, you can't just sit there wishful thinking it's going to be okay.
You have to do it.
The work, you got to put in the work behind it, which you clearly do. And my final question, because I'm very conscious of your time. When you look at everything that you're building, the companies, the science, the people that you're helping, what does success look like for you now?
I think it's so many things. I think success to me is about joy. I enjoy seeing the companies that I've started now on being traded. I enjoy products that I worked on, helping people. I enjoy seeing all the young people that I had as interns or I was mentoring or came in through any of my companies as an interns now telling me what jobs they got and sharing with me that they wouldn't be in this job if it wasn't for starting out as an intern in one of my companies or me personally mentoring them. All of it gives me such a amount of joy and love, and on the days when things don't work out, that's what I reflect on.
Right. And yeah, that's amazing. I just got me teary. Well, listen, Stella, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I knew it would be, hence why I kept stalking you. Have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. I hope that you're spoiled and that you take some time out to enjoy that time with family. And I look forward to seeing the work that Aviva does and how it benefits these founder companies.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor, pleasure. You're amazing, and happy Mother's Day to you as well.
Thank you. I'm spoiled because I get two, because Mother's Day in the UK is in March, and it's here it's in May. So I know my daughter isn't happy about the fact that I claim for 2, but she
I might have to adopt this.
She honours it. Yeah. Anybody who's in the UK, Mother's Day's in March. So we get to do a double whammy. But
I love it.
Enjoy, have a great time, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me for this episode of She Leads Biotech. If today's story inspired you, subscribe, follow, and comment. Because when one woman's voice is heard, many more find theirs. Until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and keep leading.